Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Sorry, I must ask you a question. How are you doing? Like, how are you really doing? Tori never knows what's gonna happen. We press record, and then she winds me up, and she says, "Go,
Go,
go,
babe.
have fun."
Go.
Have we even said hello? Encourage them.
I just said hello.
Okay. Number one, this video has a sponsorship from BetterHelp, so stay tuned for that. I'm giving a whole update on my therapy journey, and I think this one will mean a lot to some of you who maybe you don't think you need like a big healing moment, but maybe there's some things that you can fine tune and tweak. I had that recently, so more on that. But as you guys know from our last mindset video, I took a trip to Colorado for my men's group, and I typically try to come back with one big takeaway because this is like hardcore. Like we're going from like 6 a.m. until like 11 or 12, like 11 p.m., 12 a.m. And then it's just deep teaching everywhere. And so at the end, they want you to give an assessment on how you're currently doing with your faith, with your family, and with your work, and all these ideas that we're kind of learning. And I went through like the 7 different principles that we're believing, and I gave myself terrible ratings.
Wait, what's the 7 different principles?
Basically, how are you integrating your family into your work life, or how well are you doing inviting people into your home to love on them and serve?
Gotcha.
There's things like that where
okay.
you go through them, and I can give you guys more info on that if you want. It's just one of those things where it's a lot to talk about. Yeah. But the moral of this video is a little different because as I was going through and rating myself between 0 and 10, I realized either I suck at life or life has been sucking the life out of me. And I really looked at it and I saw like a 3 and a 2 and an 8 because it's like, are you expanding your family, doing that? Let's go. We're not pregnant right now. But yeah.
Could you imagine?
I basically had to sit down with myself and like give myself an honest assessment. And like, Chad, are you doing this poorly? And that gut feeling, that instinct, maybe the Holy Spirit was like, no, you're doing great. And I thought maybe that you all need to hear that for where you're at in life. And so I went back through, I'm fighting these tears right now, by the way. I went back through the questions and I answered based on where I currently am in life with our current life stage. Only been married 5 years. We have 2 under 2. We just moved. We're trying to, manage our own business and online and
renovate a house.
Yeah, so it's just, I looked at those questions through the purview of our situation, and I gave myself so much more favorable scores. Not like the every kid gets a trophy type feel, but just to be honest with where you're at in your life stage. Yeah. And then that took me even further to basically say, how do I find contentment where I am? Because if you're anything like me, you all are constantly living for the next season of your life. Oh, I can't wait till our kid talks. Oh, I can't, whenever they start walking, then I'll really enjoy parenthood. Or, oh, whenever they can start feeding themselves. Or whenever they can start dressing themselves. Oh, whenever my wife and I get that promotion. Or, oh, when we get the bigger house or the nicer car. Or we can actually take a vacation without working during it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that I end up living for where I end up experiencing discontent where I am right now. And I think it's because I'm being way too hard on where I am and where we are right now. And so I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know who this video is for, but I really just felt it deep in my heart to take a deep breath to say, hey, you're doing great. Could we be somewhere else? Yeah, but right now you're not there. And you need to give yourself grace that if you're expecting this idealized version of life, but yet you're in a version of life that doesn't equate to that, the math is never going to math. And what I mean by that is that Tori and I have a huge life goal of being very hospitable. We literally, there's a book right up there. I don't know if you can read the title. It's Unreasonable Hospitality. We're going to go through that book together because that's our goal. Can we be hospitable with 2 under 2? A little bit, yeah. But do we have people coming and going and staying and crashing? Not as much as what we would like.
Or are we hosting at dinner time
every
couple
nights? So if I'm gauging how well we're doing in life by this idealized version of life, we're always going to be down on ourselves because we're going to not think we're doing well. Yeah. But if you look at our life through the lens of where we currently are, the life stage we're in, we're actually doing great. hosting people. We're doing great being hospitable. And that extends to every area of our life. And so that was just something I was really feeling at the core of my heart, is to take a deep breath, breathe out the stress, the worries of today and the fears of tomorrow, and just like exist and be content where you are. And so that was my big kind of soapbox moment that I had.
That's so good. Well, I mean, there's a reason why there's so many scriptures about there is a season and a place and a time. Yeah. And I think where the enemy comes to like steal our joy and steal our contentment is through comparison. And I think it's just so easy to like look at their life or look at what they're doing and be like, oh, why can't we host like them? Or why can't we be doing business like them? And it just takes our eyes off of what God is doing in the here and now. It takes your gaze off of the blessings that he has put in your hands to steward in this season. It doesn't allow you to lean into him and ask him those questions and be grateful, because the only question you're asking him is, why are we not where they're at? Instead of, Lord, thank you for everything that you are doing. And thank you even for the things that we don't see. Thank you for the things that you're doing inside of us in this like trying season, because we know that it will produce something that you can use through us if we are willing, if we like look at our lives as vessels to be like, okay, God, we might be in a pressing, like what is the fruit, right? Like what's coming out when we're being pressed. And I was literally just talking to our friend Carly about this the other day. When it comes to leading a life of leadership means leading a life of reflection. And so just like what you were just saying, it's like we can't lead if we're not first reflecting on the way in which we are living, the way we're responding, the way we're making decisions, the way we're pointing people to places, right? And like we as Christians, our first goal always is to lead people to Jesus, right? Like I think it's so easy to think about leadership as like how to, win in life and like get the new best thing or next thing, etc. And it's like, no, like our purpose, our mission is to lead people into the presence of God. And so a lot of times I can tell you that I've been led into the presence of God in times that are more trying than when everything's going great. And I'm like, oh, everything is great, I'm good. And it's just kind of easier to coast. But when you are in seasons where you're like, man, God, this is tough. Like, sleep deprivation is tough. Like trying to manage renovation is tough. Like there's a lot of things on our plate right now, and I'm coming to the end of myself, but it's at the end of myself where I find your strength. And I know that it's not me. Like I know that I don't necessarily have capacity, but he has blessed me with these things that maybe are outside of my capacity, because I'm supposed to lean on him, because I'm not supposed to carry it alone. We're not supposed to carry it alone. Yeah, I'm going to update you guys on why this is so important, but I'm also going to update you on my therapy journey, and Tori's going to go grab Noah because he's awake. So Noah has joined the party. I'm going to give you guys my therapy update journey, and then we'll get back to the video on why having that mindset of you're doing okay is super important. And honestly, I think this is just a great way to start, because a lot of the reason why Tori and I want to be healed and walk is healed people is because of our children. Yeah. Our children will inherit our bad habits. They'll watch them, they'll see them. And so if they watch us grow through what we go through, then they'll develop that type of habit. I want to introduce you to BetterHelp, the sponsor of this video, who makes starting getting therapy super easy. And my big takeaway for this update was about being addicted to this thing, being addicted to phones. And so basically I was talking with my therapist, and I'm like, kind of like they're perceiving some things. They're like, well, why do you keep your phone on you so much? And obviously I don't want to respond to that, but we dug in super deep into it. And long story short, I have been using my phone as a way to just kind of numb out. So whenever things are getting stressful, we're not sleeping well, I'm not able to take care of myself physically, we have a lot of workload or schedules get moved, I shift to just numbing out on my phone, where I can just scroll endlessly and get little dopamine hits.
But then they started asking a little deeper questions, and so we dug a little deeper. And what we came to, well, and the reason why I wasn't able to just kind of buck this addiction, this phone addiction, this social media addiction, is because the reason for me having my phone on me was actually far deeper than just habitually scrolling. We came to this conclusion that the reason why I keep my phone on me a lot is because I like to keep myself fully available in case someone needs me, in case she needs me, in case they need me, they need me, whatever. Because there are times in my life when I needed help, and whenever I did call for help, no one was there, and it's a hard thing to have to figure out things on your own sometimes. And so what I thought would just simply be setting screen times or limits and all that stuff didn't help fix the issue with what I was struggling with, because the issue is actually much deeper. But the benefit of working with a therapist is we went back to those moments where I was struggling, and we prayed, and like, where was God in that moment? And we kind of relived it and got to, experience that moment through like a holy lens, a healed lens, versus just me feeling lack or me feeling fear. And that was like super redemptive for me. And I think that that's been one of the biggest unexpected things from working with a therapist, is I thought it was just going to be this thing, well, like, oh, your dad did this, whatever. But there even touches on unexpected things, just like phone addictions or just small mental health check-ins that can lead to something deeper to create a bigger change. And so I've just really been enjoying this process. Now, don't get me wrong, you dig deep. You absolutely dig deep, and you have some uncomfortable conversations, but they're necessary because I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to navigate life where my kids don't have to go to therapy because of me. So I'll share with you guys how to get started with BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. So you go to their website, you answer a few questions. BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like mine and just like yours. And something that is really special about that platform is you can specify that you'd like to work with someone who shares your faith, which is like a big deal breaker for me. So you guys can do that. And as you all heard me share, I got to go back to a moment and re-experience it based on where God was in that experience. And I love that BetterHelp has access to faith-based therapists who can speak into those areas that you and I may be struggling with. And you can do it all from your phone or your computer. You can do a phone call, video chat, or you can just message with your therapist. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist right now. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/mastersfam10 and enjoy a special discount on your first month. I'm truly already seeing a difference in myself, and I know that I still have a lot to do, but I'm genuinely excited about it, as I know life will be so much sweeter when I live like a healed person versus a wounded person. So definitely go check out betterhelp.com/mastersfam10 to get started.
Oh. Okay, so we will see how much longer we can chat it up before this little one wants to play, and Micah also wakes up. But I feel like it's really important to just kind of share with you guys why we feel like this is so important, right? Like, obviously we don't want to get caught on a phone addiction. We don't want to not be content in the now, but like, how do we practically do that? And I feel like these are the things that I'm thinking. First and foremost, we have to acknowledge that we're living inside of God's timing. Like, He is sovereign. And two, we also have to acknowledge that His mercies are new every single morning. And so every day that you wake up, if you can wake up with a sense of gratitude that you have mercies that are new for today. Like, you have not been graced for 2 seasons ahead of you. You have been graced for today, and God wants to meet you where you're at today. He wants to encourage you today. He wants to surround you today. He wants to strengthen you today. And that's why it says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have its own worries. And so if we can focus in on what God is trying to do in the present, I think it will help us fix our eyes on Him and not fix our eyes on everything that we want to change in our life or everything that we're worried about for the future, right? Like, you can have vision for the future without living in like worry for the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that a lot of it for me is, what good does grumbling and complaining offer? And I feel like I'm the chief of this of our home. And at my men's group, there was a quote that was dropped, and I don't know if you're ready for this, but it really hit me in the chest. is that it said, your outer voice will become your kid's inner voice. And I was like, oh, so that's what we're talking about right now. Yeah. So all the death that I've been speaking because I'm frustrated about where we are is going to become their inner voice as they begin their lives. They may develop hearts that are bent towards complaining and being chronically unhappy with where they are. And so a lot of the reason why I want to do this, not only just for us, I want to do this for our kids, because we don't just parent to our kids, we parent through our kids to our grandkids and our great-grandkids. So there's a lot more at stake than am I complaining or not. It's not just as simple as that. There's something far deeper happening. And honestly, I like who I am better whenever I am in good spirits. And so another thing in this is that like goodness compounds into more goodness, and it creates more goodness and more goodness and more goodness. But it's the same for the other side of the spectrum, which is where whenever bad things are happening or we're keeping things hidden, or whenever we complain about one thing, it'll lead us to complain about more. And it'll lead us into a mindset where we will just go down these negative talk tracks and spiral out of control. But again, you go back to the other side, it can happen in this light. And so learning to embrace where you are, that doesn't mean you have to stay there. That just means that you're not going to be chronically unhappy where you are, and you're going to learn to find contentment where you are as you grow in different seasons. Where I don't want to look back. I don't want our kids to be, just say, for example, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And I don't want to be like, man, I really missed it in the early phases because I was always wishing for the next season. Yeah. I was always so grumpy. I was always I was like anxious because I was stressed out with everything that was going on, and I just wanted to live in this life versus living where I currently am. And we all start in different places. There's so many things that Tori and I have that other people are praying for, that we're mistreating as burdens. And there's things that maybe you have going on in your life that you're allowing to become a burden that other people will consider a blessing.
Well, that's literally, it's been the enemy's trick for as long as can be, is if he can turn your blessings into burdens, then he wins. And like we always say, you have to get competitive with the enemy and not let him win. And it is just as easy to go down a gratitude spiral as it is a negative spiral. Because when I start pointing out my blessings, when I start speaking out all of the things that I'm grateful for, I'm like, wow, there is literally so much to be grateful for. Why am I sitting here complaining? Why am I sitting here
grumbling,
lacking joy or grumbling? And so I encourage you today, like if that has been something that you've been struggling with, start listing out all of your blessings. Start listing out, get out your journal and write down all the ways God has come through for you, because he is the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so he's not going to just stop being there for you.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think one thing that I want to try practicing is whenever I say one negative thing, I need to say 2 positive things, because it's going to force me to sit down and say, okay, well, I need to counter this. And it'll develop habits that lead to good habits and more good habits and more good habits, versus allowing just one little kind of offhanded comment just lead me down a path that'll lead me to spiraling and experiencing that discontentment with where I'm at. Yeah.
And if you are a parent, like your children, I was reading this in devotional the other day and I just can't stop thinking about it. It said that your children will breathe the same spiritual air that you breathe in and out. And so we have to live as examples. We have to live what we preach. We can't just say it. We can't just talk about it. We actually have to live it. So.
Yeah, agreed.
Is that it?
Agreed.
I think that we have to go.
Yes.
And love on our little blessings and meet up with Chad's family.
I think it's a prime example that with us, we could get frustrated because we really only get to do our work during nap times. It's easy for us to be like, oh, well, of course this is happening. We don't able to get everything done. Or we can say, oh, wow, we prayed to have these children. Yeah. What a blessing they are from the Lord into our household. And I don't want them to experience our bitterness. It just won't lead to anywhere good. And so right now we're having to practice just this gratitude. It's like I'm so thankful that we have a baby here sitting with us. Yes. And now we do need to pay attention to him.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll wrap up.
We love you guys. And Say, we'll see you next video.
We'll see you next week. If you're looking to get started with BetterHelp, go to betterhelp.com/mastersfam10. I'm really enjoying my experience, and so I want to give you guys that. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video.